Today's episode on the channel is one that only a mobile gaming OG such as myself has the taste, the good looks, and the skills to end up making. Supercell has made playable what I'm counting as 19 total games in the history of their company, and seeing as I've been creating mobile games on YouTube for 13 years, I'm ready to give you the definitive list and rank every single Supercell title. Now, outside of the 4 honorable mentions, I ended up ranking every single game from 15 to 1, but not only that, I put them into 5 separate tiers just to give you a better sense of how I grade the game. Let's break it down, let's use CodePat in all 19 games, and let's get into those rankings, starting with the honorable mentions. Now, compared to the top 15, we are going to speed run through these honorable mentions, which include 3 super old games in Gunshine, Pets vs. Orcs, and Battle Buddies. Now, Gunshine is the first game that Supercell ever released and was actually the only non-mobile game in Supercell history. Pets vs. Orcs came out just a short bit later and honestly, I think was only live for a month before it ended up being discontinued. And the last of the old school games before Supercell came who they are today is Battle Buddies, which ended up getting killed in 2012. Now, after Battle Buddies was taken down, Supercell ended up releasing 2 games that you've maybe heard of: Heyday, billion-dollar game, and Clash of Clans. No explanation needed. We'll talk more about those in my rankings, but hopping on to the last of our honorable mentions, that's going to end up being Project Rise, aka Clash Heroes, which I'm just not going to count for this video. Yes, technically it's been available in a couple of alphas, but it's still so early or late in development, I just don't want to end up including it in the rankings. So let's put that back on the burner. Let's get into the official rankings, and let's start with number 15 and tier number 5. Tier 5 is called Let's Forget These Ever Existed. Yes, it sounds a bit harsh, but ultimately these are the only games from Supercell I would call a miss. Everything else has been good to great to some of the best games ever. Supercell, please don't kill my creator code. All right, let's start with the worst game in Supercell history. I feel really confident in this one. This is the only game that's been released and I've just been ultimately utterly confused, and that is going to end up being Spooky Pop. Spooky Pop was released by Supercell way back when. This must have been like shortly after the Boom Beach days. It was a match 3 puzzle-esque game, which honestly was coming on the heels of Candy Crush being how successful it was, and ultimately everything coming with that. But I remember playing this game after just seeing the beautiful gold that Supercell had released with Heyday, Clash of Clans, and Boom Beach in a short period of time, and being really confused. I feel like that's the best way to put it. I was really confused because I had such a bad time that it did not live longer than maybe a day on my channel and not much longer for Supercell overall. Jumping up to number 14 on our list, I'd say is quite a step above number 15 in Spooky Pop, but similarly, it actually has pop in its name, and that's going to be Heyday Pop. Now, honestly, for Heyday Pop, this is maybe one of the biggest misses of my YouTube career as far as predictions go. I felt like Heyday Pop was going to make hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion+, and that's because honestly, it was Heyday plus Candy Crush smashed together in the simplest way to understand. And generally, sometimes you can just take 2 pretty big, good games, put them together, and make a boatload of money. Yeah. That didn't happen. Heyday Pop ultimately met the same fate as Spooky Pop, being killed for being yet another match 3 puzzle game within the Supercell genre. Rest in peace to Heyday Pop, and I still feel like if you were released 5 years before, you could have made a whole lot of money. Now, number 13 on our list is the only game that I actually didn't get a chance to play for multiple hours myself, and that's Flood Rush. And for Flood Rush, I ended up talking to some of the biggest mobile gaming YouTubers in the world, and this is what they sent me. Flood Rush was probably the worst game I've ever played from Supercell. Slow-paced, strange camera angles, bizarre balance and controls, and we really, quote, really didn't like it. Well, okay then. For me, that was good enough for number 13 on our list. Last but not least of the least on our tier 5 is going to end up being number 12 in Rush Wars, which is really one of the few titles that I feel like Supercell went all in on, and the game still ended up failing. Ultimately, the game still had some pretty nice visuals to it, some pretty good UI. They brought a bunch of creators out to Finland to do a huge launch event, and there was a lot of hype around the game, but ultimately the gameplay just wasn't inspiring in the end. I felt like myself included among many other creators wanted the game to be good. We really were rooting for it, but really when it came down to it, when you looked at Rush Wars versus other games you could play on your phone or tablet, it was an easy decision. And that's why it ended up number 12 on our list. All right, let's move on to tier 4. Tier 4 is called Entertaining, but only for so long. These games were fun, sometimes really fun, but ultimately just didn't have enough meat on the bone and didn't have me stick around to play them much longer than I would say a few weeks. Now, both of these games are actually some of the newest games that Supercell's released. Coming in at number 11, we're going to have Moko, and number 10 is going to be Squad Busters. Now, Moko is a game that has a whole lot going on for it in the end. It's visually beautiful. A lot of it, especially when you're first picking up, is really fun. And I remember the buzz playing it for the very first time, talking with different people about how excited they were. But after a while, that feeling just felt like it was fading, and I felt like I was doing a lot of the same things over and over again. And don't get me wrong, that works for a lot of games. I played how many solo showdown matches inside of Brawl Stars? Probably like 20,000. But for some reason for me, I just didn't have the feeling or the urge to play it that much longer, which is why it's number 11 on our list. Now for number 10 in Squad Busters, I feel like I was so close to falling in love with the game. Obviously, it has the amazing Supercell IP, the UI, the way that it plays, like it just sort of feels right in the end. And initially for a lot of creators playing it, they felt like, wow, this is is really, really, really cool. But the thing that I'm struggling with right now is just, I felt like I was, again, doing a lot of the same stuff over and over. I didn't feel like the skill ceiling when I played it was personally there. And even though I probably played it for like hours and hours and tens of hours initially after it came out, even grinding it super hardcore in the beta, eventually I just found myself brain rotting a little bit. Like the coins popping up, I would literally go to bed and the coins would pop up in my head from Squad Buster, and I felt like my brain was turning off when I was playing the game. And I don't know, eventually I just found myself, you know, falling out of favor with the game, but I still feel like some part of me wants Squad Busters to make some changes, and maybe some of those changes they've already made, I don't know. Because part of me really, really enjoyed spamming all over the place inside of the game, completely face rolling on my tablet and picking up those wins. Once again, it was entertaining, but only for so long. All right, moving on to tier 3. This is called Good, Clean Fun. These are absolutely great games that any game developer would dream of making. It would probably be the best game in their portfolio, but ultimately Supercell has released so much good stuff that they're gonna end up sliding at tier 3 on our list. Let's start with Clash Mini at number 9. Clash Mini was Supercell's first ever auto battler, which at the time was one of the hottest genres inside of gaming. And honestly, it was a game that I had a ton of fun with in the beginning, and I was waiting for that inevitable step when it went global. And then one day, poof, it had been nuked. Now, similar to Squad Busters, I love that Clash Mini ended up using the Supercell IP inside of a different universe. It was a really fun game with a super dedicated and passionate audience, honestly, reading the Reddit, the community, and for me, I was just waiting for the game to go global before I really found myself diving back in. But ultimately, I guess it just didn't stack up to Supercell standard for what they wanted from a global game, and even though any other game developer would dream of creating a Clash Mini, it ended up shelves, and it ended up number 9 on our list. And moving on from there, we have the second and last game on this tier in number 8, which is the first billion-dollar game to appear on this list, Boom Beach. Listen, I have super fond memories of Boom Beach. I was actually at Supercell headquarters when they released Boom Beach, which was absolutely incredible. It was my first trip to Supercell HQ. It was the first creator trip to Supercell HQ ever, and ultimately the game ended up having an incredible amount of success, especially early on. Now, at the time for me, when Boom Beach was released, I felt like it was a unique twist, but similar to something like a Clash of Clans. You're building up your base, you're doing your attacks, but just obviously in a very different manner. And it ended up carving out a really nice lane for itself. It was pretty fun in its own right, and obviously benefited at the time with the dominance that Clash of Clans and Heyday had to build such a big player base inside of its game. And while it did eventually fall off from its golden heights of way back when, it still carved out an amazing success story for itself with over $1 billion generated. And for me, it has a pretty rightful spot at number 8 on our list. Now, tier 2 is where things get really, really interesting. I'm calling this tier canceling these games was a mistake because all of these games were killed before they ended up going global, but I actually think that these were some of the best mobile games of all time. I'm even ranking them ahead of Boom Beach, which literally, again, generated over $1 billion, and these basically did 0. Now, honestly, this part of the list probably has a good bit of bias. I think you guys may agree, especially with number 7 and number 6. So drop me a comment in the comment section below, but let's dive right in. Number 7 on our list is one of the most random games I feel like Supercell has ever created, and also one of the most random games that I found myself having a ton of fun playing, and that's Everdale. Now, while I never ended up posting Everdale on my channel, I literally played Everdale for tens and tens of hours. It was a village building game that was all about efficiency. You found yourself timing things up to the ultimate degree, and me and OJ would literally DM about this game nonstop because we were having so much fun. I ended up spending like tens and tens of hours on this game to the point to where I had to delete it because it was actually affecting my efficiency when it came to creating videos and working at Tribe. For me, it was literally that good, and apparently not good enough for Supercell. RIP Everdale, gone too soon. Up next on our list of controversial rankings at number 6, I am putting Clash Quest. That's right. Does it look like I stutter? I didn't stutter. Now, when Supercell ended up announcing their 3 new Clash games that they were working on in Clash Heroes, Clash Mini, and Clash Quest, most people were excited for Clash Mini and Clash Heroes. But not me. I was all about Clash Quest. Clash Quest was a tactical turn-based strategy game, which was so much fun, and for me, I don't know, I just felt like this level of accomplishment whenever I completed any of these levels, and I found it really, really enjoyable from a progression standpoint. And honestly, I couldn't get enough of it. I was playing it daily, I was playing it every single day, I was texting with my friends about it, we were having so much fun. That is until Supercell took it behind the barn and got rid of it. And you know what? I get it. Maybe from a business perspective, it didn't have the best mechanics for monetization or whatever else, but taking that beautiful game from our hands was honestly just a shame, and that's why it's number 6 on our list. Last but not least, at number 5 on our list, and without a doubt the greatest game that Supercell never released globally, is the one, the only, Smashland. Never in my entire career have I taken a trip to Supercell HQ and seen more creators glued to their phone. When they showed us Smashland, literally every single one of us could not stop playing, and when we did creator breakfast in the morning, we all laughed because it was literally so quiet because people could not put down their phones and stop playing Smashland. In fact, the game was so popular, we even gave it its own nickname in Helsinki, and that was That's because the game was literally so intense, win or lose, that you found yourself having the emotions of a game like Clash Royale, except put that times 100. That's how you felt playing Smashland. Now, basically inside of Smashland, you had these heroes who ended up like hockey pucks, and you ended up playing 1v1. There were special abilities and so much more. And honestly, for me, the game was absolutely perfect, and I am still devastated to this day that Smashland never saw the light of day. RIP Smashland, gone too soon. And with that, we have finally reached tier number 1. Tier number 1 on our list, we're going to end up calling mobile gaming royalty, because quite simply, these are not only the 4 best games in Supercell's history, these are 4 of the greatest mobile games of all time. All 4 of these titles have absolutely crushed it. All 4 of them have done over $1 billion in revenue, and all 4 of them are on Supercell's Mount Rushmore. By the way, I've said $1 billion so many times this episode. Supercell has made, just a little bit of money. And by that, I mean that they've taken a lot of mine. Business expense. Let's kick this off with number 4 on our list, and which is actually the OG Supercell game when you think about their big 4, and that's Hay Day. Hay Day, many people don't know, was released prior to Clash of Clans in 2012, and Hay Day is truly the game that kicked off Supercell into what we know them as today. At the time that Hay Day was released, Farmville was absolutely crushing it on Facebook. You guys may remember the craze of Farmville way back when, or maybe you guys are Zoomers and you don't know anything about it. But anyway, Supercell ended up coming out with Hay Day, which was a twist on Farmville, bringing it over to mobile and making it that much better. And ultimately, Hay Day blossomed from there to become, once again, $1 billion title that so many people have enjoyed and played today. And yes, before you say it, am I the number 1 Hay Day player in the entire world? No. But the purpose of this list isn't about just complete personal preference, even though, maybe in the last tier there was some of that. This is truly being objective on what are some of these great games and the impact that they've had within gaming. And Hay Day, without a doubt, deserves a spot at number 4 on our list. All right, with Hay Day out of the way, that leaves us with only 3 games left. And I feel like each of these games has a credible case to be the number 1 game on our list. Funny enough, these 3 games mean a lot to me because these are the 3 games that I've played throughout my entire YouTube career: Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and Brawl Stars. This is going to be really, really hard. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, whether you agree or disagree. But let's start off with game number 3. Checking in at number 3 on our list. This game is the most popular game in the Supercell universe right now, and that is going to end up being Clash Royale. Now with Clash Royale, I don't know if I've ever felt this way before when I played a game for the first time. When Supercell handed me Clash Royale back, this was like near Halloween of, was it 2015 maybe? I felt like a gold bar had just been deposited on my hand because the game was so much fun. You guys might even remember that Clash Royale was launched on my YouTube channel, and I have a crazy special place in my heart for this game. And honestly, for me, I feel like the reason that Clash Royale checks in at number 3 on our list, which could change a year or 2 from now, is the fact that Clash Royale has had most definitely what I feel like is maybe some of the highest, if not the highest highs out of all of Supercell games. But there also have been some very, 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 very lows. And when I compare it to the other 2 games on this list, I've got to take an average of all of that. I may have had the most fun at one point in my career playing Clash Royale, and at other times I've been really, really frustrated, but without a doubt, I mean, this is one of the most brilliant mobile games of all time. It's crazy popular right now. It's crazy fun again. And while it checks in at number 3 on our list, let's try in a few years, a few months, a few weeks, and see if it stays that way. And that brings us to number 2. Number 2 on our list of mobile gaming royalty is Brawl Stars. Now, Brawl Stars had a completely different story from Clash Royale and soft launch. I remember playing Brawl Stars with the other creators for the first time, and we were literally writing in our notes app, this game is maybe like a 7.7 out of 10. If Clash Royale was a bar of gold, Brawl Stars was like a $100 bill, which is pretty awesome. And throughout one of the longest and maybe most dramatic betas inside of Supercell's history, Brawl Stars evolved to be one of the greatest mobile games of all time. Yes, I understand right now, coming back to YouTube, there's a lot of chatter about Brawl Stars and the state of the game, but taking a full average of where Brawl Stars has been, you guys need to remember that the legendary run that Brawl Stars had been on for so long, of literally never missing inside of an update, setting records with every single Brawl talk, and ultimately just creating a game that was so much fun. In my opinion, I feel like Brawl Stars is the best managed mobile game in mobile gaming history. Which again, I know there's some recent opinions, but we're taking the whole grade from what, the 7 years that the game has been out? 6 years? Brawl Stars is without a doubt one of the best games in mobile gaming history and is well deserving of a top 3 slot on our list. And for me, it checks in at game number 2. And that leaves number 1 on our list. Number 1 on our list is for me the greatest game in mobile gaming history, hands down, Clash of Clans. None of this happens without Clash of Clans. Yes, I understand that Hay Day officially kicked kick things off for Supercell as far as being their billion-dollar mobile game, but Clash of Clans brought a level of depth and strategy to mobile with its original game mechanics and IP, and even its explosion on mobile gaming YouTube that honestly is hard to match. In fact, you literally can't match it. I remember texting all my friends the first day that I played Clash of Clans. Procrastinating for an accounting exam, I literally downloaded the game and immediately texted them, this is the greatest mobile game I've ever played, which, I mean, I'd played like 3 other mobile games at the time. And I remember looking up and seeing like, okay, maybe, you know, this game will be around for 6 months or a year. And literally, it has been 13 plus years since Clash of Clans went global. The game has absolutely survived every single up and down that you can imagine. There was the highest of highs where it was ranked #1 on the App Store for like years and years. They had some lows. They brought back like the gold pass and had this crazy resurgence. And still today, it is one of the best games and most popular games in all of mobile gaming on a legendary streak that honestly just can't be touched by anyone else. For me, not only is Clash of Clans an insanely entertaining game with insanely entertaining mechanics, but just honestly the longevity of the game on top of the high highs and really just not a ton of low lows for the game make it to me the greatest mobile game in mobile gaming history at #1 on our list. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comment section below on everything that I've ranked from 15 to 1, but ultimately I feel pretty good about this list. Yes, there's a little bit of bias. Yes, the top 3 is completely interchangeable, but ultimately 5 tiers, 15 games, 4 honorable mentions. That'll do it for this video, and I will see you guys in a few years for our next ranking.